Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Sterling. There's not a lot of major news. Sterling put in some things this morning. Thank you for doing that. Good morning, Patrick, on both Rumble and on YouTube. Thank you for tuning into both places. Hello, Mark. Thank you for spending your week off with us, and I hope you have a wonderful week off. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Dean. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Anissa. Good morning, David. So, what do we have going on? Sterling putting in the gamma exposure levels. Thank you for doing that. So, that's what we have. What do we have going on this week? We have nothing much today. Nothing much today. Tomorrow, not much either. We got Redbook, Bowman speaking. Wednesday, we got the FOMC minutes. Probably the biggest thing. You got Waller speaking. Remember, Jackson Hole starts on Wednesday. Jackson Hole starts. Thursday, we got unemployment numbers, Philly Fed, S&P, manufacturing and services, Consumer Board Leading Index. Friday, we got Powell speaking at Jackson Hole. And then Jackson Hole wraps up. But overall, I mean, we'll see what Powell says on Friday, whether it even is going to be directed towards the markets or what. But that's what's going on. Overall, a pretty quiet week in terms of economic releases going into it. We have UNH is still running higher after the Buffett disclosure, still watching for pullbacks in that. Still under Department of Justice investigation. Palantir starting to drop a little. We got Walmart earnings this week. We got Walmart, Target earnings. We got Home Depot tomorrow. Nothing much today, but we'll take a look. Let's just do a quick refresh. Healthcare, so it's sort of a risk-off day. We got healthcare, consumer defensive, and real estate leading, which are typical things that lead in a more of a risk-off. We have a multi-day pullback so far, more than one day. Energy comm services lagging. Fed watch 85% still for the cut in September. Fear and greed still in greed mode. Schiller PE 38.84. Earnings again after the close. We got Palo Alto Networks today. That's the biggest thing. Only thing I'll be looking at. Then tomorrow morning we got Home Depot. That can have, based off their guidance, it can somewhat if it can at least not a major effect on the market, but it can set a tone for stuff. Toll Brothers after close. Wednesday before the open, we got Target, TJ Maxx. Big one this week, though, not much after the close, but big one, Walmart Thursday morning. That's another one that can set a tone. So we'll be paying attention to that one. Zoom after the close. And that's it. That is it. I mean, you got BJ's on Friday. Whoa. All right. So, what do we sit? Let's see who is here. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, Heinrich. Hey, Rick. Good morning, OD Green. All right. So, I'm watching this key area. We're coming into a major support area, roughly around 64.50 to 64. Lows back on Thursday. What were the exact lows on Thursday? 64.53. There's what I'm watching to see if that does hold with the rising rotation zone. That's the key area, just based off significant areas from recent price action. If we did drop below that, it would confirm a drop below Friday's low would confirm a little mini double top pattern into the rotation zone. And then we could see pullbacks closer to 64.28, 64.29 area, 64.16 if it can get even farther, in 64.04. That has not even triggered or confirmed yet. That's why I'm watching this key area for today to see how it reacts. We do have daily cycles at the top, and we do have weekly cycles still rolling over. So far on the weekly basis, I mean, we did eke out a new high last week, but it's overall just been a sideways correction. So if we do pull back even bigger, we do have still a potential weekly double top that is not off the table yet, but we're a long way off from even considering that. So again, if you're looking at stuff going into any support here, I need to sustain above this 64, 67 area and then build a base above there. Then I'm looking at exactly this. If we can sustain above that, then I watch this trend line for a nice rotation up, specifically this key high of 64.79, 64.80. That's what I'm taking a eye on in the S&P. The NASDAQ coming back. What is this? A 3-day so far? Potentially 4-day drop, but right back to the rotation zone. And here's a key buy area for me between this 23.7 and 23.8. In the NASDAQ, I'm keeping, this is not a trend line, this is a best fit line. The trend line would have been drawn here to this initiating point, this defining point. This is a best fit line because it best fits the sloping action. So in the NASDAQ, on any bounce setups, I need to get back above 23.8, then take out this best fit line. I need to base above 23.8. If it can't do that, we have multiple lows right here. You see right around this 23.735. We start taking out that, I'm focused on 23.7. And then we go below that. There's a lot of key stopping points in here. We got about 23.625. That's why I can't get overly aggressively short in this. There's too many things in the way. So I'm more looking at things for a pullback levels for potential buy setups. Now we do have daily cycles rolling over. Weekly cycles still heading down. We still, technically, this is barely held on, but it's still technically in there, a potential weekly double top. I'm more focused on return to rotation zone than another rotation back up. We do have waning momentum on each of these pushes coming up too, though. So we'll be paying attention to that. What else? Yes, it does have a tradable weekly double. It's a bit extended, but it does. It's still valid. It has to be traded on the weekly basis. Sterling. Good morning, Tony. Dow right here. There just is. I mean, we're back in a key area right there. I'm still watching now for a pullback into the rotation zone, specifically right around 44.750. If we can get back there, that's the first area I'll be looking. And if we drop below that, then it's closer to this key momentum bars open and close right around 44.565. Other than that, that's where that sits. If we do break out this week higher, the 45.670 is the next key area higher, and then the major cluster at 46, roughly 200. Russell has returned close to the rising rotation zone and a very key support level. So on any pullback, I'm paying attention to 2280. 2280. If we drop below that, then I'll be looking closer to the bottom of the rotation zone. I'll be very patient. Where you can see how we reacted last week to the key harmonics. This was a very key area. Prior topping area from January and a harmonic projection all clustering together. So that, now we can shift to the forward harmonics. So if this breaks out higher, the next forward harmonic is right around 23.87, and then we have 24.42. The VIX, where's my, there it is. The VIX, a gap up today. Remember, this has to trigger, so we have a little mini double. But this has to trigger on a upward close, not a downward close. Downward close does not trigger a double bottom officially. So that's where that sits. Other than that, little, but I'm just going to be watching, especially if we break back below 15.19. Maybe it sustains more in rally mode then. And then I watch those key levels I already listed off. The DAX coming back into a little minor support level around this 24,300. Again, we're just in consolidation. So DAX trading is very scalpy right now. There's not a key. We're not even at major support levels or resistance levels. It's in no man's land. So I'm not looking for much in there. The yields, the micro yields on the 10-year triggered a double bottom on Friday. So far, just pulling back to the little key candle bodies. So I'm still going to be watching for yields moving up again, unless this pattern's invalidated. Crude, we rolled today. Today was a contract roll to October, just in case you're trading crude. I'm watching still back around 61. 61 to see if we can get some key support back at that really strong base. Gold, this is interesting. There is a technical double bottom, still barely hanging on. If this doesn't trigger in the next 1, 2, 3 in the next day or so, it's going to be off the table because of this extended moves. Yeah, if it doesn't trigger really much today, it's going to be off the table because it's going to go extend too far to the right. I'm going to be looking for a setup over the next couple days, though, a long setup, especially if we get closer to the 50 and this key support trend line. You see, this is a key support trend line. So if this double doesn't trigger, I'll be watching for something that maybe a %B buy setup closer to this. Other than that, for gold, sit on my hands. Dollar index holding this trend line. Again, the 62.5, and we've technically closed below it twice, but not broken. If we do break below this 97.20 area, my targets are 96.90 and then possibly 96.42, but really focus on that 96.90. Other than that, if this does hold and we start breaking back above 97.80, I'm going to be potentially back on the long bandwagon here. All right. So, euro, again, this is not a double top because it's going into this key extended base and this key support structure, so it's based too far over here. So, but I am paying attention if we start breaking down below 116 in the euro, especially if the dollar can hold its key support level. What else do we have? Real quick, Bitcoin. Remember, last week was a breakout, and now we're passing the midpoint. So if this keeps going, this is technically a weekly double top. It's against the weekly rotation zone, so keep that in mind. But it is a potential weekly double top, so I am paying close attention to that in Bitcoin. Spiders, we have a little flat mini double. It still counts. 642.34. We're going to open 642.99 area. So this is also very key support. Would not be shorting. Just like I'm not looking for shorts really on this. I'm looking for these for pullback levels. So 640.42 would be key in the spiders if we do trigger it. So far, we've just really formed this little, it's actually a sideways double. So it's against a very key harmonic. Now, if we do break out this week higher, then we got 649.55 as the next key target. So far, again, sideways correction cycles at the top, and even a pullback on here would just be to the daily rotation zone, where I'd be looking for another buy setup. The Qs, slight gap down today, so on any rally, 577.34 is the first target for me. Watching again in here between roughly about 574.70 to the lows on Friday, 575.57 for buy setups. Buy setups, looking for that. Who else? Hey, good morning, Ted. Have you ever tested OPEX and changes? Yes, the quarterly OPEXs are more for changes into, but once OPEX is out of the way, you do get there. It's not a guaranteed. It's not like 80 or 90%, but you can get a definite shift in the markets after any monthly OPEX. Still, again, we pulled back with OPEX. I'm going to be looking, unless we really get some momentum to the downside or we get something that spooks the market, I'm still looking for buy setups. What else? What else? What else? Tesla. On the 4-hour on Friday, triggered this double. Again, it's very aggressive because it's into the daily rotation zone and it's already filled the gap, which was a key thing I was watching for. So, you have the rising 200 bottom rotation zone. So in any pullback, I'm still paying attention to 326. NVIDIA, not much to talk about besides pulling back into the rotation zone. This is looking very toppy, though. We'll still watch if we get percent B buy setups as long as it holds the rotation zone. For another pop higher, there is still a potential double top on here. This is lopsided, but it still qualifies. Broadcom does not have its potential double anymore. So I'm looking closer to NVIDIA. AMD, I'm still watching for this gap fill, which we might if it pulls back today. And I'll still be looking for another potential percent B buy in AMD also. The last one was on Wednesday the 6th that followed through. That was the next, so we don't have a new one yet, but I will be keeping an eye out for that. UNH, again on Buffett, accumulating it, the big gap up. Here is your valid weekly double against the 87.5 harmonic. It is against the rotation zone. That's why I am being still very patient. We haven't even confirmed it, and then we could still get another partial pullback. So, I am being patient on UNH. Also, the investigation is still ongoing. We'll have to see about that. But if this confirms and triggers, I will be looking more aggressively on pullbacks. Hey, John, thank you for tuning in. All right. Can we look at... Yes, we can, Patrick. Again, here's the weekly. It's got a whole bunch of nowheres. Here's the daily. And the daily has to, before, again, going into earnings is a gamble. But again, if this pops up, for me, the first key level it's got to get above is 181.26. But the major level it's got to get above is right around where the 50 declining is, the 200 is, and this prior breakdown level before I can get bullish for a potential gap fill and then a retest of the high area. Because let's just see how the harmonics look. I mean, technically it's closed below 62.5. So even on a weekly basis. So technically I'd be watching for rollover plays. Again, I'm not gambling with their earnings because they could beat and give bad guidance or not as good guidance. So based off the probabilities on this last move and where all the moving averages are, the probabilities favor a rollover play. Who knows with earnings, but that's where even on a bounce up, this wouldn't invalidate if it bounced up and can't close below 168, 187, 187. We could see another rollover. Because I got to go with the probabilities. Hey, Roscoe, you're snoring, buddy. So that's where it sits. And there's still a gap left behind to the downside. So that's it. I would just be sitting on my hands until post earnings. Yeah, it's been in chop mode for a very long time. I mean, you're in a huge overall consolidation pattern, but within that consolidation pattern, this definitely favors still a potential breakdown. So, All right, that's about it. There's again a super quiet day today. We have we had the summit on Friday. We have the meeting with Zelensky and then the EU leaders today. So that's going to be dominating headlines. Uh, there again, and the S&P. Another reason I'm being very cautious on shorts is we're coming into very key support. So I don't have a lot of short set, even on this double. I'm just watching for pullbacks. Now, I'm thinking we're getting very tired in this market. So the secondary reaction, if we do get a little more of a pullback, the secondary reaction is going to be key for that. We'll cover that this week. Let's see if we get a little more of the pullback, though. All right, with that, I'll let everybody go into the open. Thank you for tuning in. We got X going, we got Rumble going, and of course YouTube. So there's 3 places you can check the stream out on any given day. And I will talk to everyone tomorrow morning. Bye for now.